Kriti, we've had a reminder of just how close the race is in terms of the polls and the effort that's being put in by both the Republicans and the Democrats in some of these key swing states. Meanwhile, some of the betting markets pushing further into a bet that Trump is going to be victorious. Where do things stand right now in this race?
Well, neck and neck, as you said, we're 15 days away from the election, from when voters are going to hit those polls, at least from at the voter booths. And yet you are seeing no real momentum from either side. And this is a real stark change from what you saw over the summer, where when Kamala Harris was, of course, given the Democratic nomination, she had this major surge in momentum. In national polls, she was leading by as high as 7 percentage points at one point. That has all been pared back. You can see that initial social media momentum has kind of paired its own bets in that way. And President Trump has, or the former President Trump and now Republican candidate, has now kind of made that ground. That being said, as you said, it only comes down to some of those swing states, which is why Pennsylvania is so crucial. You look at the political strategists, they'll say popular vote doesn't matter. It comes down to what happens in Pennsylvania at the end of the day, or even things like union votes or catering to demographics that previously haven't made historical elections. The female vote, for example, this is one where there is no historical precedent to really show where we should be looking at. Right now, the polls, again, neck and neck. But in these last days, they tend to move so widely each day, it's very hard to tell.
And I wonder to what extent Elon Musk may be able to move the dial, move the needle for Trump. I mean, this is pretty remarkable. The stories around cash handouts. This is not a story that I normally associate with the US. Some countries, I'm thinking of Thailand historically, for example, leaders there have handed out cash to some of their hoped-for voters. But this is now happening in the US. Give us the context. Is this even legal?
At the moment, it's legal because it's being done through a super PAC. And basically, the idea is, for the international audience's context, $1 million for a swing vote that is registered in every day going into the election if that voter in a swing state has signed onto a petition that, one, calls for the right to bear free speech, which, of course, we know Elon Musk has been very vocal about around X as the platform, but also the right to bear arms. So this is very much the right-leaning agenda. And if they do sign on to this, they are basically in a lottery system for winning $1 million. That is, again, 15 days till the election, so about $15 million on the docket. You're right. It does bring up some questions about legality at the moment, given that this has just been announced. They haven't gone after it, but it's also being done through a super PAC, where we know campaign financing rules do allow things like that if they are done through the right vehicles.
OK, I want to tie together two of your passion projects right now, which is the markets and US politics. The Trump trade, then. Just talk to us about how that has evolved.
Well, so it's most clear in the betting odds. That's where you're going to see most of the action. I think on the Wall Street Journal talking about one player putting $30 million into the pool for Donald Trump. So that's one way to look at it. That being said, the players in the betting odds, to put my market cap on, it's not a very liquid market. So be careful with that one. Where showing up in the regular markets is simply this idea that it is largely seen as an inflation trade in the long run. But the reason that's been pared back, as opposed to in previous iterations of a Donald Trump kind of risk in these markets, is simply because a lot of the measures that would be inflationary requires congressional approval at the end of the day, tariffs being the exception. But again, what he says on the campaign trail and what he says in person is very different. You're actually seeing it more in the Kamala Harris trade when it comes to keeping things status quo. Certain industries like pharma, for example, pricing that in.